journey filled with soul-stirring music, powerful testimonies, and the true heart of worship. From Kenya's most anointed voices to the new generation of gospel ministers, Worship Experience brings you the atmosphere of heaven right into your home. Don't miss Worship Experience every Saturday and Sunday, only on KBC Channel 1.
If you're running a church, don't even think of setting up a school, because as early as 2030, 2032, the most lucrative business, quote and unquote, will be mental health wellness centers.
What I'm seeing in the Bible is, tell the righteous, it shall be well with them. In that moment, it's dark, it's tough, but it shall be well.
Wow.
Grief is the most
mishandled
in church.
And that's why some people, after grief, some people never come back to church.
Some are just afraid to talk to the spiritual leaders in church because of shame.
Some of those engineered, very famous statements have no biblical backing.
It's true.
Nini?
Hutoelewa.
Usiponiambia ukweli, nitakuchapa.
Ubaya wa kuwa mwanamke mtundu ni huu.
Usirudi hapa hadi umlete Chunuka.
Naelewa hasira zenu.
Tunafanya kazi kama punda. Isitoshe, jamii yao tumeifanya kama jamii yetu, kisha watu...
Wewe usikii? Machika, wacha, fyata mdomo wako. Machika, wacha. Hii ni haki yake. Anachezea nani huyu?
Want to enjoy free-to-air digital TV with crystal clear quality? Here's how to get started with Signet. Step 1. If you have a smart TV, you're good to go. Next, connect the aerial to your TV. Now, do an auto search on your TV. Just follow the prompts on the screen. And that's it. You're now tuned in to Signet. Sit back and enjoy a wide range of free-to-air digital channels. For technical inquiries, call the Signet hotline on 0770 572 656.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for watching KBC Channel 1. It is time for lunchtime news. My name is Betty Kiptum, and Byron Abuli is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. We start off this broadcast with the transgenerational conversations by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission that are happening this time in Busia County. And Nancy Okware is on standby to bring us the latest from Busia. What is the latest, Nancy?
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Betty Kiptum, back at the broadcasting house. We are coming to you live from Farmview Hotel right here in Busia County. This will be where the 4th edition Transgenerational conversation will be taking place. Now that will be taking place from 7:30 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. And of course, since morning we've been speaking to to Busia County area residents just to understand what are some of the challenges that they face and what are some of the issues that they would like addressed so that we can have a cohesive nation. And of course, we know that Busia County is a border town, meaning that there's a lot of business activities that are taking place between Kenyans and Ugandans. And of course, we would like to understand how that happens and of course the challenges that the business people face in this area. And right now I'm joined by Florence Atieno, who is the national chairperson of the cross-border women. Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe you can tell us briefly what it is that you do.
Okay, I'm the national chair of Women Cross-Border Traders in Busia and also entire country, and also a business lady, exporter and importer. So I'm doing cross-border trade with my fellow traders, women, and we have a group who are established in Busia here and also in different border. We are trying to transform women in formal to formal trade so they can use the normal routes instead of using panya routes. That is what we are doing. That is what made us to come together so we can educate and sensitize women to do to formalize their trade. Another thing what I can say that cross-border trade is a very important trade because that is the economic backbone. We are the one who paying tax every day. So we want our government to recognize cross-border trade as a formal trade that where we can be brought together and be educated how we can about border procedure and customs union and also African continental free trade area, so we can penetrate African country trade. Still, we have non-tariff barrier where we are facing. Right now, we have traders who are dealing with the fish from Lake Turkana to DRC. We have so many challenges because we have some wrangles with the Uganda country. We don't have peace because that is why we sometimes we have critical in that trade. And also those people who are dealing in cereals, we want to educate them how to post-harvesting, how they can handle their cereals from the farming to the market. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. And I'll be right now engaging one of the traders. Utajiunga tu nasi hapa kidogo, utueleze jina lako, unafanya biashara ipi, na pengine kwa kifupi changamoto ambazo mnakumbana nazo mnapofanya biashara humu nchini na pia nje ya nchi.
Kwa majina ni Rosbella Koth. Mimi nafanya biashara wa cereals hapa Busia, Posta, soko Posta. Lakini tunafanya hii biashara changamoto yenye nianze na changamoto sana changamoto yenye tuko nayo kwa hii biashara ni wale tukienda kuleta vitu kama upande wa Uganda, saa zingine tunapata kama wameweka mamawe ndani ya hizo cereals zetu. Ukipima sasa kilo wanasema kilo imefika, lakini ukikuja ukimwaga chini unapata ni mchanga ndio nyiko imewekewa. Pia tuna changamoto zingine yenye tulikuwa bayani kule nyuma hatukuwa tumejua, lakini saa hii tumeshajua. Kitambo tulikuwa tunapita panya routes, lakini kwa sasa tunapita custom kwa sababu kuna original certificate yenye tunaweza tumia, tunapita tu custom direct. Na tunafurahia kazi yetu, hii kazi yetu ndio inatulisha. Yeah.
Asante sana. Kwa maoni yako pia nitaungana na mfanyabiashara mwingine ambaye atatueleza tu jina lako kwa kifupi na changamoto ambazo pengine unakumbana nazo wakati unapofanya hii biashara.
Kwa majina Maso Wanjiko Mogo wa Budi, nikiwa mmoja wa mfanyi biashara hapa Busia ya serious. Na changamoto moja tunapata sana ni vile sisi wa mama bado tunajiita small traders. Lakini sasa ile changamoto tuko nayo ni vile mimi naenda nanunua yangu kidogo, mwingine yake kidogo. Saa zingine tunadanganywa kwa bei, tunanyang'anywa vitu kwa sababu saa zingine wenye wanatuletea hawapiti kwa zile njia zinastahili. Sasa tungeomba na ile lengo letu tuko nayo saa hii ni tuungane pamoja, tufanye corrective bargaining na tufanye corrective selling ndio tuweze kujiinua kuliko kila mtu aenda nunua yake kidogo kidogo. Vile tumeungana sasa, hiyo ndio mpangilio tuko nayo, tuanze kuuza pamoja, kununua pamoja, halafu tununue vitu yenye equal quality. Tuache kudanganywa na kununua vitu yenye sio quality, sababu haitupatii faida yenye inaweza kutiinua.
Asante sana. Now, those are just some of the business people, the cross-border, the traders. And they're just telling us about some of the challenges that they face and, of course, some of the initiatives that they have put in place to ensure that they continue operating in a manner that gives them profits and, of course, they remain safe. Right now, I'd like to hand it to my colleague, Abdiaziz Hashim, who is also on the other end. Abdiaziz.
Well, thank you so much. That is our very own Nancy Okwara there in our very halls of the Farmview Hotel, where we'll play to the 4th edition of the Transgenerational Conversation. Now, given that, Okwara, you have talked to the traders as well as representatives from Busia County, let's get to hear from key partners who are the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, as well as currently where we at the County Commissioner's office. You do know that this particular conversation has been necessitated not only through the NCIC offices, but key partners like Ngao and the county governments that are currently hosting this particular edition. Now, given that this is the 4th one, the journey started all the way from Marsabit, went to the capital, to the lakeside city of Kisumu. Now we are here at the border town of Busia County, getting to hear how these people will react to the conversations here. A lot of issues have been coming up from this particular conversation, but right now I want to interact with the Deputy County Commissioner, who is also currently the Acting County Commissioner of Busia, that is Mr. Solomon Chesut. Mr. Solomon, kindly join us here on KBC Channel 1. Thank you, sir, for making time for us. But the key question here is, how critical has Ngao officers such as yourself played to ensure that there is peace not only in Busia but the country at large?
Thank you very much, reporter from KBC. Ngao is the main coordinating body in terms of security in our country, and specifically here in Busia, we are very grateful because our work has been very visible. Given that this is one of the busiest border points, we have the busiest border points in Kenya, one in Busia and in Malaba. So our teams on the ground doing very good work in collaboration with the multi-agency team from KRA and other teams to make sure that this border is safe. Yes.
Thank you so much, DCC. And of course, we'll interact with the DCC this evening. Let me get also the voice of the NCIC Director of Investigations and Compliance, that is Mr. James Wanyande, to tell us more. What will be different in Busia? We witnessed it in Marsabit, in Kisumu, Nairobi. What will be different in Busia?
Thank you, Abdi. Busia will be different in that it is a border town. And so we have another country on the other side. So it's important to hear the voices of the people who have a country, a different country that's bordering them. But as you mentioned, Abdi, this is the 4th conversation that we're having. The first was in Marsabit, and then in Nairobi, Kisumu, and now Busia. So the Commission is giving the youth, the different generations, a platform to be able to air different grievances that they may have, to be able to share the different perspectives that they have, to be able to solve the different challenges that are facing the country. So that is why we're here in Busia today. Thank you, Abi. Yes.
Thank you so much. And of course, you have gotten to hear from the DCC as well as the NCIC Director. They'll be joining us later on for that particular conversation. I know that we're running out of time. I want to hand you over to my colleague Kiptum. But remember, all our viewers, at exactly 7:30 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m., this conversation will be happening, of course, courtesy of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, in partnership with the Korean International Cooperation Agency, as well as the United Nations Development Program, and also key stakeholders such as the county government of Busia. For now, we need to hand you over, and dear viewers, join us at that particular time. Back to you in Kiptum.
Thank you very much, my colleagues there, Abdiaziz Hashim and Nancy Okwara, bringing to us updates from Busia County, where the transgenerational conversations are going to be happening tonight. Of course, you want to catch that particular program at 8 p.m. on KBC Channel 1. We'll move on to other news now. President William Ruto has challenged Africa to take charge of financing its own health future, saying the continent has the ambition, innovation, and unity needed to deliver quality and affordable health care for all. The president, who spoke during one of the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York after a meeting on uniting global health, also reaffirmed Kenya's commitment to the African Leaders Malaria Alliance and the Zero Malaria Starts With Me campaign.
Truth. We must speak the truth. The global health architecture remains unbalanced. Africa cannot continue to be the last in the line for vaccines, diagnostics, and treatment. Equity is not charity, it is justice. We therefore call for fair pricing, meaningful technology transfer, inclusive research and development, and sustained investment in Africa's manufacturing. This is why Africa's active leadership in the negotiations on the pathogen access and benefit sharing annex of the pandemic treaty is non-negotiable.
Gospel artist and presidential hopeful Reuben Kigame is calling for laws to make Braille and Sign Language mandatory in all communication platforms. Speaking at the Thika High School for the Blind in Kiambu County, Kigame said government documents should be translated into Braille for the visually impaired, while sign language should be provided to help the deaf access public information.
I'm also challenging the government to ensure that sign language is not just on television stations. We want sign language in matatus. We want sign language in hotels. We want, buildings to be accessible for persons with physical disability. Don't put your office on 4th floor if you're serving everybody. Bring it to the ground level and ensure that they are ramped.
Now, the South Rift Technical and Vocational Education Training Fair competition has kicked off in Kericho County, hosted by Kericho Township Technical and Vocational College. The 2 days event, which has drawn 23 TVET institutions from Kericho, Nandi, Bomet, Nakuru and Narok counties, is not only meant for certification but also offers a platform for youth to showcase their talents and explore future opportunities. During the opening ceremony, Director for TVET, Joseph Kanyi, said the event themed TVET for sustainable development, the role of science technology for innovation and economic resilience, is also expected to address local challenges in agriculture, ICT, service industries, green energy and manufacturing.
Competitions, we see innovations that address local challenges, whether in green energy, agriculture, ICT, manufacturing, or service industries. These innovations remind us that solutions to our most pressing problems lie in the hearts of skilled, empowered, and motivated youth.
Peers, as trainees, you also showcase your talent, and it is also for maybe opportunities in future.
And Kirinyaga County Government has secured 4 additional dialysis machines for Kerugoya County Referral Hospital in the county's fight against kidney-related diseases. County Executive Committee member for Medical Services, Public Health and Sanitation, that is George Karoki, says the renal unit had previously relied on 2 machines serving 10 patients and carrying out about 20 sessions per week. But with the new equipment, the facility can now accommodate 30 to 40 patients, conduct 60 sessions weekly and at least 300 sessions every month.
We are quite grateful and happy because the machines are now digital machines, which after a patient has been treated or dialyzed, the machine will automatically, go off and give an alarm so that the doctor or the nurse who is taking care of the patient will be in a position to go and remove that particular patient and get to the next patient.
The machines came this week, and the team which brought the machines has trained us on how to use the new machines. And we are glad that our patients have come back. The ones we had transferred out, they have started coming back. Before the machines came, we had 2 machines which we used to do around 4 sessions per day, but currently with the 6 machines we are able to increase the numbers to meet the demand of our patients.
And dairy farmers from Transmara in Kilgoris constituency, which is in Narok County, have staged protests over non-payment for milk delivered to the New Kenya Cooperative Creameries, that is New KCC dairy processor in the area. The farmers claim that New KCC owes them millions of shillings and are demanding immediate intervention from the management of the company, or they will halt milk deliveries.
Tunakumbuka 1992 KCC ilienda na pesa yetu muda wa miezi mitatu, mpaka wa leo haijawahi kulipia wakulima. So tunauliza hii historia isije ikajirudia yenyewe, kwa sababu tumekuwa na shida. Kiwezekana tulipwe hata hii leo.
Hii kazi ni ngumu sana. Kama hii vile pikipiki yangu hakuna pesa yenye nimelipwa kwa mwezi tatu, mimi na mkubwa wangu pia hajalipwa. Naomba watulipe.
Hii miezi tatu mzima hatujawahi lipwa pesa. Watoto wanatutegemea. Sukuru fees wamefukuzwa, wako manyumbani. Tukienda kununua kwa maduka tunauziwa maziwa kama hii 100. Tafadhali tusaidie serikali.
Sana. Kwa ofisi yangu ya Bishop nakutumia sana.
Stakeholders in the health sector are calling for quality healthcare services as the government moves to register Kenyans under the Social Health Authority in masses. Speaking during the opening of the refurbished AAR Healthcare Outpatient Center Clinic in Eastleigh, the stakeholders said addressing the gaps in Kenya's healthcare sector is vital in the broader goal of achieving universal health care for all. This even as Eastleigh residents lauded the installation of the health facility in the area, saying this has brought international health services closer home, reducing the need to go distances in search of health care.
There's a continuous demand for better healthcare in the country, especially for preventative health. The government has played its role in driving quality healthcare, because as it is today, the healthcare industry is regulated, and they continuously ensure that the quality of service is good, and most importantly is the outcomes.
So coming to Eastleigh, I can put it, it's something we needed very much. So especially the outpatient clinic, because you find in most of Eastleigh, you'll find small clinics which are not maybe the standard required.
Social health insurance is a very critical part of healthcare, and we really support what SHA is doing in Kenya. And we believe that by providing the cushion that people need, it's really going to help increase access to health.
And learning has been disrupted at Buria Kingori Public Primary School and Junior Secondary School in Imenti South after parents stormed the premises demanding the transfer of the school principal over allegations of mismanagement of school resources. The parents who barricaded the head teacher's office later went home with their children, vowing not to return them until their demand is granted. However, they have urged the Ministry of Education to investigate the matter and ensure accountability for the mismanaged resources.
Ile shida yetu kubwa ni hata tukilipa school fees, wengine tunalipa na inapotea. Unakuja unaambiwa kwa sababu ulileta cash na haina statement na alikuandika kwa karatasi. Sasa ingine unakuja unaandika kwa karatasi. Ile karatasi ikikuja hakuna. Unaambiwa sasa wewe utalipa school fees ingine.
Mimi nilikuja nikamwambia mtoto wangu hakuzaliwa huku. Alizaliwa Mombasa. Kwa hivyo nimeambiwa ningoje hiyo birth certificate nitafutiwe huko nitumiwe. Sasa kaniambia niende nikamstaki mahali popote pale nataka. Sasa mimi nitaenda kumstaki wapi? Nikijaribu kumuelezea akusikia.
Tunaomba kwa heshima kubwa Ngudhari atafutiwe mahali ingine. Kama sisi ni wabaya tuletewe mwalimu mwingine mwenye atasikiza wazazi, mwenye atasikiza bond, mwenye atasikiza committee, ili tuweze watoto wetu wasiangamie.
Moving on, Central Regional Commissioner Joshua Nkanatha has warned contractors working on government projects that they risk being stopped and blacklisted if they fail to deliver within the agreed timelines after receiving payment. Speaking during a tour of Kenya Rural Roads Authority projects in Kirinyaga, Mkanatha said the government has cleared all pending bills and therefore contractors have no excuse for delays. He urged them to fully mobilize their resources and return to work on derailed projects without further delay.
Kama serikali hatuna ndeni na yeye. Sasa yeye ndio unaona naye amemmobilize 100% arundi kwa site. Na ametuhakikishia kufikia Disemba kama mambo yote iko sawa atakuwa amemalizana hata kuweka rami hii barabara.
And Kajiado Main Prison has become the first beneficiary of the He Adopt a Deca initiative that seeks to install at least 20,000 beds for prisons across the country. The prison that hosts both male and female inmates has welcomed the initiative as an important step in improving the administration of justice for inmates. State Department of Correctional Services Principal Secretary, that is Dr. Salome Biko, says the He for He and Adopt a Deca program funded by well-wishers will help restore inmates' dignity as stipulated in the 2010 Constitution, easing inmates' rehabilitation efforts.
All inmates must be treated humanely. We raised funds towards putting beds in all our prisons. We have a shortfall of 18,500 beds, and so I will be asking people of goodwill to come on board.
And that story brings us to our first break here on Lunchtime News. When we come back, more news, including business and sports. Do stay with us.
Differently. Using persons with disabilities to get funds for personal use is inappropriate.
To ensure that we are included, not just at the table, not just being given a seat at the table, but also being given the power to lead.
Where people are meeting to make decisions, women with disabilities voices must be there, must be heard, especially around violence and political participation.
Mi kukua caregiver na niko na mtoto mlemavu ni kujituma tu.
Tuko mbioni, tunajaribu sana kuhakikisha na kuonyesha wenzetu ya kwamba ulemavu si hukumu.
A grown woman who we took abroad to study, then she decides to get a baby and keep it a secret for God knows how long.
Don't owe you any explanation.
Are you Chris?
Unajua mimi ni nani? If you don't let me go right now, my friend, you are in trouble.
You need to come back. I feel like something bad is gonna happen.
Itisha alafu nilalishwe chini, wacha ikae.
I want to go home.
You don't get it. You don't get it.
I don't trust her one bit.
Lucky, right? Relax.
Welcome back. You're watching Lunchtime News. Now, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, that is the Garissa County branch, is calling on the government to rescind its decision to domicile junior secondary learners in primary schools and instead host them in secondary schools as initially planned. The teachers are further pushing for the autonomy of junior secondary schools so that they can have their own structures as independent entities. They also decried lack of infrastructure such as laboratories, which compromise implementation of the competency-based education.
To just request the government and also all the stakeholders of education to consider having JS doing what was proposed in the Presidential Working Party on education reforms. And also we ask as JS teachers to have our CPG, the career progression guidelines, put out clearly, having JS as a level of its own so that we can know.
The junior school teachers and the junior school itself being domiciled in primary does not make it a primary school. And because it does not make it a primary school, it should not be run like a primary school. It should be run by secondary qualified teachers.
2 suspects have been arrested in Wamba Town, Samburu County, while transporting 7.8 tons of sandalwood worth 8 million shillings in a crackdown on the illegal trafficking in the endangered tree species. Suspects were arraigned before Maralal Chief Magistrate Temba Sitati, who ordered that they be remanded until October as investigations continue. Samburu County Commissioner John Cheruiyot cautioned residents against illegal logging and also emphasized that the forest is essential for clean air, rainfall and water sources, warning that their destruction leads to water and pasture shortages.
Not want the exhibits to go back into the black market. The exhibits have been secured through photographs and the weighing certificate and the inventories, and a sample will be taken for analysis and later production.
All this, what we are seeing, whether it is sandalwood, they are affecting the community. Our community forest, you look at this, our community forest, definitely they are affected. And by and large, that includes now conflict over pasture, water, and that really can make can escalate issues to do with conflicts. So we want to urge them that we avoid all this and let's go into productive businesses or productive economies.
And a case filed by residents of Mwachome village in Matuga constituency, Kwale County, against Bamburi Cement Company at the Mombasa High Court will be mentioned on the 9th of October in Mombasa for further directions. Kwale Environment and Land Court Judge Lucas Naikuni says the case should be amended to comply with legal principles before it is brought to the Environmental and Land Court in Kwale for a hearing and ruling. Residents of Mwachome accuse Bamburi Cement Company of violating the agreement after delaying compensation for their land since 2022.
They are unable to use the land that they are in because the defendants have shown interest, have paid partially, but they have refused to clear the sum. So you cannot build, you cannot farm, you are just on the farm. So the sooner we settle this matter, so that if the defendants are no longer interested in the property, they allow the interested party continue enjoying their rights.
Our point of concern is on the urgency of this matter. Therefore, the sooner this matter is settled, the better for all.
A High Court cannot transfer what it does not have jurisdiction on. It does not have the power to transfer what it does not have. So we got a matter that is, that's why you are seeing I'm not writing. Because it's really, I don't have the power to hear this case as it is. So the best option, I have decided, this case goes back to High Court. High Court will deal with it the way it decides to deal with it.
Let's now get an update on what is happening in the world of business. Several deposit-taking savings and credit cooperatives organizations with a balance sheet of less than 1 billion shillings might be merged and consolidated once a technical committee of experts on SACCOs give their recommendations on mergers modalities. Cooperatives, Small, Medium and Micro Enterprises Cabinet Secretary, that is Wycliffe Oparanya, says mergers will ensure the SACCOs compete in the financial sectors and are economically viable.
Regulated SACCOs, a total of 216 of them, have relatively small balance sheets of less than 1 billion in assets totaling to 79.6 billion, which is only 7.4% of the total assets. Such a small balance sheets undermine their competitiveness in the credit business, which today heavily runs on very robust ICT and technological platform. Consequently, as time has come for the SACCO sector to explore market-driven solutions of consultation and mergers of these very many small only SACCOs, this is the only way to ensure their financial viability and stability.
And 15,000 mango farmers in Makueni County have received free fruit fly traps and training to boost the quality of their fruit and reduce losses. The devastating fruit fly is a pest responsible for destroying up to 50% of farmers' produce in Makueni, limiting access to lucrative international markets.
New partnership between European Union and the Makueni County government will help mango farmers produce export quality fruits while protecting their income. Lillian Mwai, County Director, Trademark Africa, says farmers have been losing up to half of their mangoes to fruit flies.
We have taken what is best practice globally and are introducing it here, and we'll be able to test and demonstrate that we too can be able to access the EU market again and to increase our exports.
Effective Integrated Pest Management CEO Dr. Nehemiah Mihinda says the trap is a safe and environmentally friendly option that reduces the need for harmful chemical sprays.
One of the things that we have invented is what we call a fruit fly pheromone trap. It is used for attracting the male fruit flies, because in the trap we have put the female pheromones, and the male thinks that it will come and mate with the female, and in the process it comes to the trap and it dies.
Farmers like Rose Mulu say results speak for themselves: better mangoes, fewer losses and less money spent on pesticides.
Tulipoanza kufundishwa mambo ya kutumia these technologies, tumesaidika sana. Dawa tupige nyingi, hata pesa ile tulikuwa tunatumia imepungua by almost 50%.
With Makueni producing 200,000 tons of mangoes annually, such innovations are crucial in protecting one of the country's most valuable cash crops.
And the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority is urging county governments to enhance the implementation of the Integrated National Energy Plan Regulations 2025. EPRA's Director General Daniel Kiptum says the regulations provide a framework to align national and county energy planning in a coordinated, transparent and sustainable manner.
The Integrated National Energy Plan Regulations 2025, which was enacted in May this year, aims to ensure energy planning aligns with the national development goals and provide a mechanism for integrating existing energy plans from national service providers and county governments into the consolidated Integrated National Energy Plan. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General Daniel Kip says the regulations require that county governments from the county energy planning committees that will formulate 10-year county energy plans that will be incorporated into the national energy sector plans. The regulations include county governments in energy planning by requiring the devolved units to develop and publish county energy plans that respond to local needs and opportunities, mobilize resources, identify priority energy projects, provide accurate data to support evidence-based planning, and report annually on the progress and ensure that there is stakeholder and community engagement on energy projects. Kiptum was speaking during a sensitization forum to educate and engage county governments on their central role in developing county energy plans, CEPs.
And across borders now, sales of new homes in the U.S. surged by more than expected last month as builders ramped up discounts to lure buyers sitting on the sidelines. New single-family home sales rose 20.5% in August to an annualized rate of 800,000 units, the U.S. Census Bureau reported on Wednesday. It was the fastest pace since early 2022 and well above economists' forecasts, signaling a burst of activity in a frozen housing market. Here are details of this and other stories from across the borders.
Analysts said the uptick was propelled by price discounts and other sales incentives from builders who are grappling with an oversupply of newly built homes for sale. Easing borrowing costs ahead of Federal Reserve interest rate cut also supported the surge, economists noted. but new homes only account for about 14% of the U.S. home sales. The housing market more broadly remains persistently frozen as affordability constraints shut out prospective buyers. Meanwhile, UK cabinet ministers are considering stepping in to support Jaguar Land Rover suppliers after the car maker was forced to suspend production after a cyber attack. The cyber attack at the end of August meant Jaguar was forced to shut down its IT networks. Its factories remain suspended until next month at the earliest. Fears are growing that some suppliers, in particular the smaller firms that solely rely on Jaguar's business, could go bust without support. One idea being explored is the government buying the component parts that the suppliers build to keep them in business until Jaguar's production lines are up and running again. Finally, people of all ethnic groups across Xinjiang are enjoying better livelihoods, rising incomes and improved public services as the region benefits from sustained social stability under the Communist Party of China's governance in the new era. The CPC Central Committee has long prioritized Xinjiang in national governance, a commitment underscored by General Secretary Xi Jinping's multiple visits to the region. At the third central meeting on Xinjiang work in September 2020, Xi introduced the CPC's new era guidelines for governing the region. These include governing Xinjiang according to law, strengthening persistent efforts to combat terrorism, and maintaining stability through ethnic unity.
National para-athletics team, which will represent Kenya in the World Para-Athletics Championships, left the country last evening for India ahead of the global showpiece, which is slated for the 27th of this month to the 5th of November next month. The championship in its 12th edition will be held at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, New Delhi.
After an intensive 6 months of training, the Kenyan team for this year's World Para-Athletics Championship is seeking to showcase a stellar performance and continue putting Kenya on the global stage.
The training has been so hard. We've been forced to go back to our pockets. We were so hopeful to be put in the camp, but unfortunately we did not manage. So the 6 months we've been training, it was our own effort.
The team consists of 10 players who include, among others, 4-time Paralympian Samuel Mushai, who will feature in the 5,000 meters T11 category, paracyclist Bedan Ireri and powerlifter Helen Wawira. Others include John Lokedi, who finished 4th in 5,000 meters T13 category in last year's edition, Priska Jepkemei, who will feature in the 1,500 meters T11 category, Samson Ojuka in the long jump T37, and Sheila Wanyonyi. The last time Kenya won at least a gold medal was in the 2023 edition, which was held in France, where Nancy Chelagat clinched gold in the women's 1,500 meters T11 event. During the 2024 edition, which was held in Japan, John Lokedi finished 4th in the men's 5,000 meters T11 and 11th in the 1,500 meters. Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
And Kenya's national baseball 5 youth team, the Kenya Falcons, recorded mixed results in their opening Group B matches in the 2025 Youth Baseball 5 World Cup in Nayarit, Mexico, where they are looking forward to making it to the knockout stages. They lost by 2 straight sets to Cuba before they recovered to beat Korea by the same margin, as Daniel Mwendwa reports.
Can come up with some surprises. I think Kenya.
In their opening match, Kenya faced a tough opponent, 2-time world champions Cuba. The Falcons struggled to find their rhythm, falling 2-0 to Cuba. Cuba dominated the first set with a 13-2 scoreline and wrapped up the second set 13-1. Despite the heavy loss, the young Falcons showed determination and focus ahead of their second game. That resolve paid off as Kenya bounced back in their next fixture against Korea. The Falcons were in full control in the first set 7-1 and sealing the match with an 8-2 victory in the second set.
Yetu na Korea imetupea morali sana kwa sababu watu wetu walikuwa chini na tukajaribu kuwainua ili tucheze hiyo game ya pili vizuri na tuweze kuambia watu nyumbani kwamba tuko gangari.
It puts us in good position because we are now having one win out of 3. So we are expecting to win against Spain.
Elsewhere in Group B, Spain started strong with a 2-0 win over Korea before falling 2-0 to Cuba in their second game. Tonight, Kenya faces Spain in a decisive group match. A win will secure the Falcons a place in the knockout rounds of the global tournament. For Channel 1 Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
And 8-time Carabao Cup champions Manchester City advanced to the fourth round after claiming a 2-0 victory over Huddersfield yesterday at the John Smith Stadium. Phil Foden delivered a man-of-the-match performance as he found the back of the net after 18 minutes to give City the lead before providing an assist to Savinho to secure the victory. Meanwhile, Newcastle cruised to a 4-1 victory over Bradford City as Arsenal beat Port Vale 2-0 at Vale Park. Tottenham won 3-0 over Doncaster in another match. Arsenal will face Brighton as Newcastle hosts Tottenham at St James Park. Liverpool and Chelsea will face Crystal Palace and Wolves respectively, while Manchester City will travel to Wales to face Swansea in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup.
Rich scoring. Still might be on here for Foden. Tries to tee up Savinho. Savinho with a heavy first touch, but he finds the net with the subsequent strike. Oh, it's left for Eze! Trossard, that's a lovely take. Leandro Trossard gets Arsenal second. Xavi Simons bends this in. Lawler's punch was miscued, and the acrobatic effort is absolute genius. Fullback backpedaling and panicking. And it's led to a second and sets through Brennan Johnson. 1-on-1. And he makes it look so easy.
Betis drew 2-2 against Nottingham Forest yesterday in the Europa League as Roma claimed a narrow 2-1 victory over Nice at the Allianz Rivera. Cedric Bakambu put Real Betis in front 15 minutes into the match. Meanwhile, AS Roma began their Europa League campaign with a narrow 2-1 victory with goals coming from Ndika and Mancini before Murphy converted a penalty for Nice. In the Spanish La Liga, Julian Alvarez hat-trick secured a 3.
Can he bring his team back into the match? Yes, he can!
And on that sporty note, that is where we put a cap on Lunchtime News this afternoon. Thank you very much for your valued company. From the team that made this possible, we thank you and wish you a lovely afternoon. My name is Betty Kiptum and Byron Abuli is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Goodbye.
Listen, I want to see the charge sheet and everything else you have against him.
Ndoizo.
As you put together the report, don't forget to include the amount you're asking to let this case slide.
Unaongea nini wewe? Juu nani alikuwa anajitumia message akitisha pesa?
Aleki. Kwani kimeumana?
Unajua naweza kushikanisha na hii kesi vibaya sana.
Hauwezi nitishia.
Na ndio maana ulijaribu kunionga. But mimi ni nani? I hope unaelewa mahali naelekea, si ndio?
Hata siwezi hata kidogo.
Kioko.
Hey, mbona unapiga picha?
Keep smiling.
Unaenda wapi na ndio nimefika?
Sikia, sasa huwezi nitishia, sawa?
You have no idea this was all about you, do you?
What do you mean?
Time for us today. Welcome to the program. This is Health and Lifestyle. My name is Marie Yambo. As usual, our social media handles at Marie Yambo, at KBC Channel 1 on X, KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook. We are also on YouTube. Well, coming up in this program.
So when I cough, I have a leak. When I do some simple curls, I have a leak.
A weak pelvic floor. Ruth's journey with urinary incontinence.
The pelvic floor gives stability to the body and especially to the trunk.
And Mulenge shares some exercises to treat pelvic floor dysfunctions. And preventing pelvic floor dysfunction, tips on our good practice segment. First on the program, Ruth's life was unexpectedly disrupted by a condition that many find difficult to discuss, and that is urinary incontinence. Well, after months of struggling with a weak pelvic floor, Ruth faced challenges with daily activities like social outings and even her overall confidence, as simple actions like laughing, coughing, or even lifting became a source of anxiety as she coped with the unpredictable effects of urine incontinence. Here is her story. Ruth Modoka, a mother of 3, has been attending physiotherapy to correct a pelvic floor disorder. Like many others, she struggled with urinary incontinence, a condition in which there is a loss of bladder control. While it affects older adults, both men and women, for women, childbirth can be a risk factor.
My first girl, I got through normal delivery. That she is now 8 years old. The second one I got through CS. She was 29 weeks, so I went through CS. And then she was put in incubator for 49 days. After that, I had the third girl. She is now 3 years. So I got her also through CS. After that, it's when I realized I have a pelvic floor problem. I started leaking. After, let's say, like 2 months, the baby was big, so I think she also early in my pelvic because she was around 4.9.
Often unspoken, urinary incontinence impacted every aspect of her life.
So when I cough, I have a leak. When I do some simple curls, I have a leak. So I worried what is happening. But I had to go out, kama ni shopping. But I used to put on pads. Kama ni kulala, I make sure nimevaa pia pad. Yeah.
Yet, like many, she at first kept her condition a secret before opening up to a friend.
I had to open up because the first 2 I had no problem. So this was a new thing to me. Every time I cough a little, it leaked. So I had to open up to that friend of mine. So after opening, I knew also she had the same problem.
But there are treatments that can help, from lifestyle changes, physical therapy, and, in some cases, surgery.
At home, I had to do some exercise. Then when I come, then there are other exercise she do to me. It was helpful because after a month, I had to see change. So I was treated for 3 months and I was okay. Kabisa. In a month's time, I had to see some changes. So I was in therapy for 3 months and I was okay.
Through a combination of pelvic floor exercises, Ruth's symptoms began to improve.
The exercise, I had to do them seriously, not to lift heavy things. So I had even sitting position.
According to Ruth, there is need for public awareness about this condition.
Most of them, they don't have the information. They may think it is a normal thing. And they stay with it later, it will prolong to a big problem that they could have solved it earlier.
Well, it looks like a normal thing, but it can also cause a lot of discomfort for many. So if you or someone you know is struggling with urinary incontinence, know that help is available. And now to the word on the street, we just wanted to know whether people are aware about urinary incontinence and even how they manage to deal with it.
Sometimes kenye kinatuma hali kama hiyo inakuja nikiwa kazini, ile sehemu haina sehemu ya kujisaidia. So ninakaza ile mkojo sana. Ninakaa for long kama masaa mengi bila kwenda kujisaidia. So ile masaa nitaweza kutoka, ninakuwa nimekazwa kabisa. So nikirudi tena, ninasikia mkojo ikinishika kidogo, inatoka kwa haraka because nilikaza sana kwa muda. Nikashindwa kuzuia kuitoa kwa muda sahihi unaotakiwa.
Sijai experience hiyo, but nilisikia rafiki yangu akisema ashai experience kitu kama hiyo. Ile time anataka kuenda haja, yani hakuna vile anaweza yani inatoka tu, yani inakuja tu. But mimi sijai experience kitu kama hiyo.
Okay, I used to see some of my friends taking drugs. Some were using like things to stop, like they were using, let's say, something like pads. There are these, should I call them pampers for the adults? They do wear them, so at least it helps them not to destroy their clothes. Yeah.
And on that note, we take a break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at some of the exercises that you can do to strengthen the pelvic floor.
It's art, it's culture, it's fun, it's attitude.
As you can see with me, I have this handkerchief. And is it really a handkerchief or is it?
My name is Kevin Kasioki. Please join me each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Wewe ndio Alphonse Makoha Makacha.
Wewe.
Sasa ukiniambia wewe huko unanifanya hivi na mkono. Si uongee, ongea. Ai, mpelekeni mental hospital.
Umesema nilikuwa na wanyama hapo. Ni wanyama ulikuwa unakuja kutumia ama ulikuwa unakuja kutumia binadamu?
Acha kunipima akili yangu.
Wewe ndio unanipima. Kwani unataka unafikiri mimi nataka kujua ni kilo ngapi? Ama uliona niko na talanta ya kuongea, si ndio, ama ya kulia kama wanyama?
Hata kama uko na talanta, wewe anatumia hiyo talanta vibaya. Sikia mheshimiwa.
Hiyo hoteli ni yako?
Hapana.
Hapana. Wewe uliniwekea kuku hapo hivyo? Hapana. Did you serve me? Hapana.
Same question.
Sema kila kitu hapana.
Nini?
Thank you for staying with us. A weak pelvic floor may affect lots of women, but men too can suffer this condition. Anne Mulinge is a physiotherapist who has made it her mission to help people regain control of their lives by addressing urinary incontinence. Let's hear more from her.
So the pelvic floor basically is the muscle that you are sitting on, or the muscle that we sit on. The muscle that we use to pee. Peeing is urinating, or the muscles that we use to poop. Any muscle around there, just below your navel or below your umbilicus, until your back. All those muscles, that's what we call the pelvic floor muscle. So there are different conditions that affect the pelvic floor, very many conditions, and one very key condition that affects the pelvic floor is urine incontinence. Another is prolapse. When we are talking about urine incontinence, we are talking about 2 or 3 types of incontinences, which includes stress incontinence, urge incontinence, and mixed incontinence. When you're talking about stress incontinence is when someone is leaking urine when they cough, when they lift, or when they do any activity that exerts the pelvic floor. When you're talking about the urge incontinence is when a patient is not able to get to the bathroom before they leak urine. So by the time they are running to the bathroom, urine has already leaked. The mixed incontinence is when it comes both the urge incontinence and the stress incontinence. Someone has leakage with coughing and lifting, and at the same time, they're not able to reach the bathroom for a bowel movement.
Okay, so you've also talked about a prolapse, and in layman's language, how would you explain what a prolapse is?
Okay, a prolapse is when we have weakness of the muscle resulting into the organs of the pelvic floor coming out. For an example, when we talk about the uterine prolapse, it is when the uterus, in simple terms, comes out. It's not being held by anything, or the muscles have become too weak that they are not able to hold the uterus inside. So the uterus comes out. When you talk about rectal prolapse is when the muscles of the rectum or the muscles around the rectum, they are not able to hold the rectum into position, and the rectum just comes out.
Yes, and so like you've rightfully explained that the pelvic floor muscles, when they're weak, they can actually be affected by so many other conditions. One of them is urine incontinence, and this affects women most of the time. Could you explain to us why that happens?
With urine incontinence, both the urge and stress incontinence is more popular or common in women because, one, as women, we go through childbirth and pregnancy, and one of the commonest causes of urine incontinence is pregnancy, childbirth, and aging.
Like you've said, that urine incontinence is as a result of the weakness of the pelvic floor, and you've talked about women being, mostly affected simply because of childbirth. But is this just childbirth, or is it multiple childbirth, or does it even matter the weight of the baby, during delivery?
With urine incontinence, when a mother is pregnant, there's a lot of pressure that is in the pelvic floor because the weight of the baby is lying directly to the pelvic floor. So the baby, or the weight of the baby, pushes the pelvic floor and it makes it weak. Remember, this is a mother also who is going through daily activities of living. So as she does her daily activities of living, she is still exerting pressure to the pelvic floor. And probably pre-pregnancy, she had not conditioned her pelvic floor muscles to be ready to take a pregnancy. And when they have a big baby, maybe the baby in the uterus is big, more than 3.5 kilos to 3.7, 4 kilos baby, it will give a lot of pressure to the pelvic floor muscles, and that will make the pelvic floor muscles weak and hence result into urine incontinence.
So you've talked about the pelvic muscle becoming weak, and that is what helps us in terms of, being able to hold your bladder, if I may call it. But when it comes to urine incontinence, then it means that the pelvic floor muscles are weak, and that is affecting your bladder or something of that sort. So maybe you could explain to us deeper to understand how, can I say, your bladder and the pelvic floor are connected?
We understand that there are different functions or role of the pelvic floor muscle. One of the biggest role of the pelvic floor muscle is stability. The pelvic floor gives stability to the body, and especially to the trunk. The second thing is the pelvic floor really helps in breathing. Another, the pelvic floor really helps, or a big role of the pelvic floor is during childbirth, to help in relaxation and contraction of the muscle to allow the head of the fetus to come out. The other thing that is, the other role of the pelvic floor is for sexual satisfaction. So when this mother has a pregnancy, she's pregnant, and probably the weight of her child is big. She's carrying 2 babies, which you call a multiple pregnancy, or she has had a child following each other closely. We know that the pelvic floor muscle has not yet recovered, so you find they are still weak, and this will lead to the muscles being weak and leading to pelvic floor dysfunction that will result to urine incontinence or fecal incontinence.
So there's the notion that a weak pelvic floor is a woman's problem, or a women's problem for that matter. But men can also get the condition. Maybe you could explain to us some of the conditions that can affect men in terms of a weak pelvic floor muscle.
Pelvic floor dysfunctions, they are not a woman thing. Even though it's majority of the people or the majority of the population that get pelvic floor problems, they are women, but it's not a woman thing, because we have erectile dysfunction in men. Men also go through erectile dysfunction. Men also go through constipation. Men also go through the neuralgias that women go through. Probably a man has been done surgery, and this affects the pelvic floor muscle that he has. So pelvic floor dysfunctions or disorders are not a woman thing. They also affect men as much as they affect women.
So what are some of the symptoms that people should look out for in as far as a weak pelvic floor muscle is concerned?
Okay. So some of the symptoms of a pelvic floor dysfunction is, number 1, when you're leaking urine, that is a pelvic floor dysfunction. Another symptom is when you have pain in your pelvis. Probably you can be going through constipation, or you're going through fecal incontinence, or you're going through fecal seepage. Fecal seepage where you go into the bathroom, you wipe yourself, and your tissue remains with some poop. Those are symptoms that you should be careful to check on when you suspect that you have a pelvic floor problem. Some treatment options. Number 1 is when you have a pelvic floor dysfunction, you're leaking urine, you have constipation, you have neuralgia, you cannot feel yourself and you go to the bathroom, please see a physiotherapist. Pelvic floor physical therapists, we are very few in Kenya. Like, we are not 20. We are very few. So if you are not able to reach a pelvic floor therapist, please reach a physiotherapist. And a physiotherapist will be able to give you some good attention before you reach to us as specialists. Yes. So another treatment option is, if it is something that is more than meets the eye for me as a pelvic floor therapist, I'll definitely refer you to a gynecologist for them to assess you and advise. Another treatment option is probably if you have like a prolapse and it is more of, it's a bigger prolapse that we cannot work on as pelvic floor therapists, you can definitely get a surgery for it.
So last but not least, these are very private matters. People are not very free to talk about them to anybody. And there are also symptoms that people can be going through that they might think like they're normal. Maybe you could explain to us that, and what would be your message to the people out there?
Yes, so sometimes people would ignore a pelvic floor condition because it's a shameful thing to talk about. It's a shameful thing to say, I'm leaking urine. It's a shameful thing to say, I'm not able to have a sexual interaction with my spouse. People feel like they are not in that space to talk about their intimate selves. What I can encourage our viewers and our patients is, do not feel shame. Find someone who you can talk to, you can trust, explain, and open up to them. Another thing is, if your pelvic floor condition will remain untreated because you've not spoke about it, we risk having infections, chronic infections. We risk having colon issues. We risk having chronic constipations. We risk having many other things that you could have prevented if you had sought help earlier. So please don't feel shame. Don't feel like you're having a condition that people do not have. When you're smelling or when you're feeling like you smell urine, do not feel ashamed. Please seek help. Find someone, disclose, open up, and you'll find help, because we are available.
So someone listening to this will also ask the question, because fistula presents itself more or less like a weak pelvic floor muscle when it comes to urine incontinence. So what would be then the difference between fistula and a weak pelvic floor that causes incontinence?
Okay. Pelvic floor dysfunction or weakness and fistula is one thing. Because fistula is a condition of the pelvic floor as a result of the pelvic floor being weak. Okay? As a result of the pelvic floor having a problem, that's how a fistula will come. For an example, you are pregnant and you're carrying a heavy baby. And during labor, you have a prolonged labor. So when the doctors are helping you deliver, they do something that you call episiotomy. And you don't heal well, the episiotomies don't heal well. That is how a fistula will come. Or other mothers will deliver in the village and they do not have someone to take care of them and check whether they got a tear or not. So when you have a tear and the tear is not taken care of, that is how a fistula will come.
As you've heard, urinary incontinence doesn't just affect women, men too are at risk. So look out for their symptoms, and if any, you can actually seek medical advice. And on that note, let's look at the good practice. You've likely heard of the Kegel exercises. This squeeze and hold exercise, developed by Dr. Arnold Kegel in the 1940s, was designed to target the pelvic floor area. Now, pelvic floor muscles are under a lot of strain during pregnancy and childbirth, and women who experience symptoms of pelvic floor disorders during pregnancy should seek treatment to prevent further complications. In addition, lifestyle modifications such as regular exercises, a healthy diet, and proper management of chronic constipation can help reduce the risk of pelvic floor disorders. Being overweight can weaken the pelvic floor muscles and cause incontinence, so losing weight can also improve or eliminate symptoms. And if you or someone you know struggles with urinary incontinence, know that there is help available. You can also talk to your healthcare provider. That's where we come to the end of the program today, and on behalf of everyone who made this program possible, including Anne Mulinge, the physiotherapist, and also Ruth Mudoka for sharing her story, we say thank you for your time. As usual, if you've missed any part of this program, do not shy away, but do go to our YouTube channel and you can be able to catch up with the whole program. My name is Marie Yambo and hope to see you again next time.
Sado, the way of tea. A tradition that perfectly expresses the Japanese culture of hospitality. The history of Sado begins in the 15th century. Great tea masters like Sen no Rikyu refined and developed the art's focus on hospitality and the creative interactions between those serving and drinking tea. Over the centuries, different schools and traditions of tea arose. Today, over 1.3 million regularly practice this art. In Sado, every action is performed in a specific way, although details differ between schools. Mastering this art takes much time and constant practice. Students learn the precise way to rise from the floor to a standing position and to never tread directly on any threshold. Before use, the bowl is carefully wiped with a special cloth. Even the way of folding this cloth follows a set procedure. The tea used is matcha, powdered green tea leaves. When mixing the tea and hot water, the right hand holds the bamboo whisk, while the left grips the tea bowl. This action must be performed with the whole arm, not just the wrist. To serve the tea, the host first rotates the bowl so its front side faces the guest. The guest then rotates the bowl again to avoid drinking from the front side. Precise rules govern everything from how to hold the implements to where to place each item. The host decorates the tea room with a flower arrangement representing the season. Only dedicated, repeated practice brings understanding of the way of tea. Through practice, one realizes the 4 key principles of tea. Harmony in the tea room. Respect for each other and all existence. The way of tea isn't something you can do by yourself. It's all about interacting with other people. The important thing is to create a space where we can be open and considerate with each other. The way of tea requires purity in all things. The purpose of all our preparations and procedures is to eliminate anything that might disturb the mind. Everything we do has this goal, to calm the spirit and create a peaceful atmosphere. Through harmony, respect, and purity, guests arrive at the 4th key principle, the state of tranquility. It appeals to all the senses. The way of tea is so wonderful in the way it skillfully forges close bonds between everyone taking part. Calming the mind, refining the spirit of hospitality, For over 400 years, this has been the appeal of the way of tea.
Using persons with disabilities to get funds for personal use is inappropriate.
To ensure that we are included, not just at the table, not just being given a seat at the table, but also being given the power to lead.
Where people are meeting to make decisions, women with disabilities' voices must be there, must be heard, especially around violence and political participation.
Mi kukua caregiver na niko na mtoto mlemavu ni kujituma tu.
Tuko mbioni, tunajaribu sana kuhakikisha na kuonyesha wenzetu ya kwamba ulemavu si hukumu.
Kila mwisho wa juma hapa katika runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1 tunakuletea Mkulima.
Mkulima ni kipindi cha kila mtu. Mkulima mdogo, mkubwa, mnunuzi, muuzaji na pia anayenuia kuanza kilimo.
Kuanzia kwa mbinu bora na za kisasa za kilimo, ufugaji,
kukupa fursa za biashara, kuongeza dhamana hadi teknolojia zinazorahisisha kilimo.
Mkulima Kisasa inakupa wewe maarifa, motisha na suluhu za kukuza mazao,
kuongeza kipato na pia kulisha taifa kwa jumla.
Tunafidi nchi, tunafidi watoto wetu na tunafidi Europa na tunaweka pesa mfukoni.
Tazama Mkulima kila Jumamosi saa 10:30
kwenye runinga ya taifa.
Mkulima, tuko hapa kwa ajili yako,
ambapo fursa na kilimo zinapatana.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with our music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
If you're running a church, don't even think of setting up a school, because as early as 2030, 2032, the most lucrative business, quote and unquote, will be mental health wellness centers.
What I'm seeing in the Bible is, tell the righteous, it shall be well with them. In that moment, it's dark, it's tough, but it shall be well.
Wow.
Grief is the most
mishandled
in church.
And that's why some people, after grief, some people never come back to church.
Some are just afraid to talk to the spiritual leaders in church because of shame.
Some of those engineered, very famous statements have no biblical backing.
It's true.
When the sun rises, so does the sound of praise. Every weekend, join us on a spiritual journey filled with soul-stirring music, powerful testimonies, and the true heart of worship. From Kenya's most anointed voices to the new generation of gospel ministers, Worship Experience brings you the atmosphere of heaven right into your home. Don't miss Worship Experience every Saturday and Sunday, only on KBC Channel 1. Worship Experience, uplift your spirit. Connect with God.
this afternoon, being the 25th day of September, the year is 2025. We are glad that you are watching this live broadcast brought to you by the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation in partnership with